What's up? So I'm here in Austria at AgentConf, but even if I'm at a conference, this channel doesn't stop. What I want to do today is talk to you about my biggest fail, like earlier in my career. In fact, my first job, I was barely an adult, and my manager comes to me and says, "Hey, I have an idea and I want you to build it. Can you build like a canvas, like a whiteboard where people can draw and it saves it and they can always come back to it?" My first job ever. I was barely an adult. Of course, my response is, yeah, of course, I can do it. Absolutely. I've done it a million times. I have not. This was a huge fail over time because at some point we had multiplayer and then like my computer was the server, so I put a post-it note on it and I was like, please don't turn this off. And it was like a whole thing. So I figured, let's do this on the channel where I rebuild my biggest fail using modern tooling and best practices, and we learn together how to do those things. So in this video, it's the first of a series. If you don't want to miss upcoming videos, I'd recommend subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss them. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to just create a basic whiteboard using a canvas where you can draw. We'll maybe save it to local storage and read from it, and that's it. Next week, we'll probably look at adding multiplayer and so on. So again, subscribe if you don't, but let's get into it. So this is a browser, blank page. What I want to do is npm iVeat as a dev dependency, and good, we have it. Let's open the editor and create our first few files. What I want to do is I want to make a file called index.html, which just contains a script type module that references index.ts. Okay, and we'll also add a canvas just for good measure. So we'll come here and we'll do canvas. Nice. This looks good. Let's go here and open index.ts. Now, when you have an element in your HTML with an ID, that ID becomes a global variable that references the element. Okay, so what we'll do is we have canvas. So we'll do canvas dot stop. Canvas dot width is window dot inner width. Canvas dot height is window dot inner height. What are you complaining about? Yeah, it's fine. Then we need a context for the canvas, which is this. TypeScript, come on. Cool. And now what we need to do is basically like respond to mouse events. So when you click or when you tap, that mouse down means start drawing. The mouse move event means draw. Mouse up means I've lifted the pen. This is similar to touch start, touch move, touch end. Same for touch. To handle these events, we need some type of external flag. Are we drawing? Are we not? So let's do that. So we'll create a flag. Let isDrawing equals false, and we'll create a function const draw. It's a mouse event. Look how awesome! If we're drawing, if we're not drawing, don't do anything. Otherwise, stroke style is the color we want to draw. It's badass. I like it. We'll copy these configuration options to the canvas here, just outside, because this doesn't need to happen on every mouse move. But on every mouse move, we get the mouse coordinates, X and Y. We stroke, we begin a path, and we move to it. This looks pretty nice. The order, I'm not so sure about. Let's maybe begin a path. We'll move to line 2 and stroke. This looks better. And these are just canvas primitives for drawing. Cool. Now we'll do a start drawing, which sets the flag, draws a dot, and we'll do end drawing or stop drawing, and same thing. This looks good. Now let's bind this. So we'll add event listeners to the canvas for these, and we should be good. So let's save this. Let's reload. Are we running our dev server? We're not. npx veat. Okay. So now, does it work? And of course it doesn't. I failed so hard years ago. I failed so hard today. What's up? Let's debug. So maybe there could be many things wrong with this. I think. Thank you for that. Let's just do const canvas. Be not so risky. Is document.querySelector canvas, and I know it exists just to get rid of those warnings. Now we're getting the context. We're checking the line. This looks really, really good. And then we're adding the event listeners here. This actually seems like it should work. There we go. It does work. Who knows? Who knew? The global variable thing didn't work. Anyway, let's move on. So this 100 pixel round is a bit much. I don't like it. So what we're going to do is change it. Instead of 100, we'll do 10. I didn't know badass was actually green, but whatever. I like it. Cool. We have a drawing thing. It's not the best. It's a little bit pixelated, but this is a first draft. We've done this it hasn't been very long, so it's pretty good for an MVP. Now what we need to do is persistence. I want to save these paths to local storage and then hydrate from local storage when I can. To do that, we need some variables. Let's go here and we'll do let working path. That is the path we're currently drawing, and it's an array of coordinates. So number is x and y, and it's an array of numbers, and we'll do like actual paths. And this is not an array of numbers. This is an array of working paths. This looks good. So as we draw, instead of just moving and lining to, what we'll also do is we will add to the working path. So we'll say working path dot push the coordinates. When we finish drawing, we'll push the working path to the current path to the actual path. So we'll say final paths. We'll rename this, and then we'll clear the working path. Finally, let's add a function called save paths, where we just like save them to local storage, and also load paths, where we load them from local storage. I don't know what that is. We don't want to do that. We just set if there's no paths return. Otherwise, what? Otherwise, we set final paths to the paths. This looks pretty nice. This can fail, so we'll wrap this in a nice try catch and do nothing. We'll gracefully fail if it fails. Good. So now I'll write a big hello, just like that, and maybe an exclamation point. Let's check if that's saved to local storage by inspecting. Okay, this looks good. I'm happy with that. It's the hello exclamation point dot or something. Nice. If we reload, we're not loading them. So let's work on loading them now. So if we come here, what I want to do is create a function called draw initial paths. Okay. And first things first, we need actual final paths. So we'll load paths. And then let's draw them. So const draw is a function that will recursively call itself using requestAnimationFrame. Now, because we're using recursion here, we need to come up with an exit condition. This is a programming fundamental. Where there is recursion, there needs to be an exit condition. Okay, so when do we want to exit? No, that's not true. Sure, why not? But also, if we need some state variables, let's do let current path 0, and we'll do let current point 0, because a path is just a collection of different points, different dots. And what we want to do is we want to iterate through them. So we take the first path, which is a bunch of points. We iterate through all the points. When we've exhausted all the points of the first path, we move to the second path. When we exhaust all the points there, we move to the third path, and so on and so forth. So let's model that in code. What do we want to do? So let's get rid of this, and we'll say if the current path is out of bounds of all the paths, don't do anything. If the current point is the last one in its path, we need to do some stuff. Increment the current path, so that means go to the next one. And we also need to reset the current point to the first point of the new path, okay? Cool, so we'll do this. And then we begin a path. We move to the x and y coordinates of the current path, the current point, and we should at some point draw. So we line to it exactly, and we will stroke. I think this should be enough. And then we increment the current point. So what's happening again is we're literally drawing each point in a path, because that's what this current point does. It just goes to the next one, and we're recursively calling it. So we just go through each point in the path, draw, go to the next path, each point draw, next path, and so on. This should, in theory, work. We haven't tested it, but let's see. The last thing to do is call draw. And the last thing to do is call draw initial paths on load. Let's save this. Look at that. Look. Beautiful. Beautiful. And now we can maybe even let's delete this and check that it actually does work. We draw a spiral and an exclamation. It didn't save to local storage. That's very interesting. Because we don't save when we stop drawing. All right, let's try this again. Hello. Hello. Okay, now we're saving some stuff. Say, wow. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's what I say. Look at that. That's beautiful. And let's add a little smiling face. Reload. Is it going to sequentially go to the next path? Let's check. Let's check. Let's check. Woo! Look at that. So we created a whiteboard. We saved to local storage. We retrieve from local storage. We draw like this magically, like with animation. Wow, pretty nice. That's it for this video. In the next video, let's add multiplayer. Let's have multiple people draw and see how we do that using something like PartyKit or LiveBlocks. You choose. Let me know in the comments. But for now, that's been it. If you want to catch the next video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment, leave a like, maybe share it with a friend, or at me on Twitter. For now, that's been it. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.